Press.
Hello and welcome to Single Parent Success Stories. Today's guest comes to us from Los Angeles, California. She's Fiona Kong. She's a single mom of a 5-year-old boy who has been a co-parent for 3 years. She is also the founder of the Home Sweet Homes Journal, which is a tool that helps approach co-parenting in a loving way for children of divorce. Welcome, Fiona. It is a pleasure to have you.
Thank you so much for having me, Irina. It's a pleasure.
Thank you. How are you today?
Doing great. It's a day off for my son, so have a lot to do.
Oh, nice. Well, thank you for setting time aside and meeting here with me today. It's amazing. Thank you. So please share with us your story. How did you become a single parent? Was this a conscious decision? Was it an accident?
Yeah, so my son's father and I, we actually had dated for about, we were together for about 6 years, and my son was 2.5. And, I think just parenting is so hard, right? Like the relationship, it gets to that point where, things build up and, we had gone through therapy. And in early 2019, we decided that it was best to part ways. So it was a mutual decision. And it wasn't an easy one, but I think, it was the right one for us. So that was 2019 when I became a single parent. My son was 2.5 at the time. And since then, we've been co-parenting. I would say our co-parenting relationship is really good right now. It's as good as it can be, and we've had to definitely work along the years for it to get to this point, but I'm really happy with our partnership.
Nice. Thank you. What were some of the things you struggled with when you became a single parent? Or was it a smooth ride?
I don't know if anybody would say it's a smooth ride. I mean, gosh, I feel like when you first separate, it's like your whole world is turned upside down, right? Like you have to, like I actually ended up moving out. So you're trying to get your life back together. You're trying to take care of yourself emotionally, but then you have your child, or, many cases, some have children to take care of. So, it's the most, for me, it was like such a low point in my life, right? When you don't have support really, and, you don't have anyone to talk to. No one can really relate. So, I think that the biggest struggle was not having, community. And that's kind of when I was like seeking out, like folks online, and luckily there are people out here who just are so, like, I found that single parents are so giving and loving, and, they're just able to support you in the best ways. The other thing is just like time, like being a single, there's never enough time. I mean, this, right? Like, I know you have your child full time, but even doing it co-parenting, it's like managing the logistics and like, it's so tough. My son, he goes to school about an hour away, so it's not easy. And then the last thing I'd say was just really taking care of like, your child's emotional well-being during this whole thing. I think, I think the couples always say like, we put our child first. And I don't know, I think that means different things to different people, right? I think it means taking care of yourself. I think it means making sure your co-parent is also in a good mindset, but talking to your child and finding a way to connect with them throughout and staying connected, knowing how they feel. So those were kind of top 3, although I could go on and on.
I think, it is so true that, you're embarking on this journey that you didn't expect, and you gotta figure it out, and community is important. And yes, we all have like families, our friends, but chances are they're all together and everybody's still together, and you look at yourself like, I'm this outlier. I'm like, something is wrong with me.
Absolutely. And you wonder, like, did we do the right thing? And there's just so many emotions, a roller coaster of ups and downs. And so I think just, taking care of yourself and is talking to someone, your therapist, community, whatever it is really important.
Yeah. So what helped you kind of recover and break through all those difficulties?
Yeah, so it was funny because I think things come to you at the time when you need it, right? I feel like the universe provides like in the strangest ways, but beautiful ways. So a friend recommended this podcast to me, and it was the first time I actually heard anything like motivational or uplifting. Like I didn't come from a family where they praised us or like they encouraged us, they supported our dreams. Like it was actually quite traumatic. Like I had like my father was abusive, like the emotional abuse, like years and years and years was awful. So coming from this background of like I never loved myself, I didn't believe, I didn't think I was smart. I like there was just so many things I put myself down. It was real. I was in such a bad state. So like listening to like this one podcast, it was about like there was this quote by John Maxwell, and he said that like everything worthwhile is uphill. And I was like, oh wow, that's really like that really like hit me. Or I was like, that is so true. And from there, you just kind of like I listened to more and more content about just loving myself and motivation, and it really opened this world up for me to say like, hey, if I didn't have the most supportive family, but I can do it for myself. That's really where it all needs to begin.
Yeah, yeah, I so agree with you. I kind of was on the same journey, discovering not podcasts but programs about motivation, about rediscovering who you are. The first book I believe I read was Reinvent Yourself by James Altucher, where
Oh,
he had to reinvent himself several times throughout his career in different areas, like when he was broke, and then or after divorce, and putting the pieces together and rediscovering who you are in the process. Because for me, I had a loss of identity. Who was I? Was I someone else's mom? Was I someone else's wife? But who am I? And
yeah.
it's recreating that identity about who you are becoming, or remembering who you used to be. Because throughout the relationship, I don't know if it happened to you, but I managed to lose myself in the relationship
Yes.
and
No,
forgetting who you are. Like, what do you like? What do you dislike? What are
yeah.
your triggers? What are your values? What are the things that make you feel alive? That's what I had to relearn and rediscover.
I know. I feel like I hear that so much across, from like other folks I've talked to. Just nobody really is, they're not their true self, like when they come out of the relationship, right? Like, and it's not, it's sad, but it's not, I feel like that's the norm, right? And how do you maintain that like during, but luckily, we have this time to really like, it's almost like dating ourselves, right? Like like who am I, like what do I like, what makes me happy? And sometimes it's like, oh, I don't know. No.
Yeah. So if you had a chance to go back to a younger version of you, what kind of advice would you give her?
Gosh, I talked a little bit about just not believing in myself. I was the most like, I had no self confidence at all, because I was talked down to. When no one is there to build you up, and that's what parents should be doing, and I can't blame them though, right? They didn't get that themselves. So it's when you see like this generational trauma, I'm like, I don't know if I could have done or said, done anything differently, because I had to go through this whole mess, this whole ordeal. And I'm glad that I've come to the realizations that I have, and am the person that I am now. But I would say just know your worth, you know, um, believe that you're capable. And I think single parents, like they are so capable, right? Like I think they are, I'm sorry, some of the strongest people I've ever met, right? Like there's things that I'm like, if I was an outsider looking in, right, on any almost any single parent's journey. You're like, wow, you did all that. Like, that's really incredible.
Yes, it's true. And sometimes we don't see that as single parents. For us, we still feel like we should be doing more.
That's true.
What kind of advice can you share with single parents who are just stepping onto the journey of single parenthood?
Um, Again, I would say, the community is so key. Like it is such a lonely and hard journey. So luckily there's, meetup groups, there's podcasts, there's, just I've made friends on Instagram. Like they're everywhere. And I feel like I've been able to connect with them very quickly. And it's been just such a, like, it's so good for the heart, right? Like to feel connected to someone that gets you. Like I don't have to say a lot and they understand me. So finding community is the key. And just, we in my book, which I guess we'll talk about, is like there's these affirmations. And when I was writing them, I was thinking like, I never heard this, I never believed in these for myself. So when I do these affirmations with my son now, I'm like, these are for me too, because like you need to fill your own cup, right? Like you need to to yourself in a way that you would to a friend, right? We all know this, but we don't do it.
Sometimes the simple things that we know, how to do or what we should be doing, we don't do.
We don't. Because this is for my son, we like look at ourselves in the mirror. And this month, last month in February, we were saying, I am loved. We talked about who loves us, like how we feel loved. And I was like, oh, this is I need this. This is so good for both of us.
Mhm. So tell us how this amazing project was born, the Home Sweet Home.
Home Sweet Home's journal. Yeah.
Yes.
So, I told you my son was 3. He was going back and forth between homes. And, although my co-parent and I, we talked after every single transition. So this was, our schedule was 2 to 3. So we would talk every 2 to 3 days. And I just still felt like there was like this gap in knowledge of like what was happening. When a kid is 3, he's not able to articulate what is going on in his life. And, I tried like co-parenting apps, but I wanted something to involve my son, like the apps are made for adults and, therapy, like a lot of things are made for adults, but not for children. So I was like, that's so odd that there's nothing made for children. I mean, there's children's books, like that's really about it. And so I'll show you, I actually I didn't even know what I wanted to create. I had no idea. But I was at a dollar store and I found this little planner. So it was just a regular planner. And we began writing like little memories of just like what was happening at each other's house. Because I was like, when your kid is 3, you're like, what are they eating? Like, is he is he using the toilet, right? Like stuff like that, like the really everyday stuff of like what's going on. So what's happening at daycare. So I began like putting like little stickers in like when he did something great. And like I didn't know if he understood, but we were just like, I want to like do something for him together as a family. So this is how it started, just a little planner.
Yes.
And then I was like, I loved it so much for us. I was like, maybe I should just make it for co-parents, like anyone in the similar situation. And I actually, the same year I separated, I was also laid off from my corporate job. So it was just this very like, what am I going to do with my life? And I didn't feel like that job was totally right for me. So I was like, I didn't know what I was going to do. And this fell from like I don't know where it came from. It just fell into my lap. So I decided this was we started June 2020. This was June 2021. So like after a month after, I was like, I'm going to do this. And I began mocking it up and what it would look like. And here it is. It's for those that are on podcast won't be able to see, but it's, you know, it's a hard physical book that the child takes with them back and forth between homes. So would you like me to just go through a little?
Yes,
thing?
please.
So yeah, I have in the book like this journal. So it belongs to, and then Emil wrote his name, mom and dad. So it's really a shared diary journal for the whole family. And then I start off each section. So each section begins with the affirmation. So there's a section all about me. So I am unique. And it just captures like things like, you know, his name, like what his favorite things are, how much he weighs. And then here he drew his, you know, this is me, I am beautiful. And he drew his picture and we put his handprint in there, which is, you know, like I've been so bad at his baby book. I don't know about you, but like my child is 5. He doesn't have a baby book. It's so.
I made one for my sister. I like to make like scrapbook to capture the year, like how a year has been. So, and I started, I think, after separation. So 2015 was the first book I put together, and we've been doing like a yearbook of memories.
Oh, that's so, see, like I'm very
bad because we take a lot of pictures on the phone.
Yes.
We don't look at them. And this is like a memory, and then you see how people change, places you visited, and it preserves that memory. So that's what I've been doing.
I feel like these are so hard for me to do. So this is perfect because now, you know, my co-parent does half of it. My son does, you know, he participates, and this is, so it's perfect for me. So so each month then it goes into the planner section. So as I said, each month begins with the affirmation. So this one's I am enough. Another one is I am always learning. And it has space for them to draw. So it captures like his drawings. So after the affirmation, there's like a child and parent activity. So for the month of I am always learning, the child, you know, the question is like, I like to learn about, and he just fills in whatever he likes to learn about. And then for the parents, the activity is, here are some of the things we would like to teach you. So his dad wrote in a bunch of things and I wrote in a bunch of things. So it has his calendar for the month, like where he's going, like which home. And then here's kind of where the daily journal practice is, where, you know, each day, it's if the child's able to write, they can. My child is 5. He can only write. He's very limited at the time he's learning. So his dad writes at the end of the day. We just kind of sit in bed and I'm like, what was your favorite part of the day? Or, you know, what's something memorable? And we talk about it, and we write it in here. He always has his schedule, so he knows which house he's at. So Papa, 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 this is the weekend. And he circles like how he's feeling. So it's really encouraged him to talk about, you know, like if he's mad, if he's sad. And he wasn't doing that, you know, like when we started, it was really like, you know, he's not a very expressive kid, but now every night he's like prepared to like talk about it. And you see this day he circled like he was happy, he was sad, and so it's really just a nice way for all of us to know what's going on, and for my son to get his emotions out. And then at the end I make a little I do print out some pictures and make a little scrapbook. The last thing I'll say is that at the end of the book, there's a section for like their medical history and things like that. We didn't fill it out, but they're like their dental, like, you know, medical, like, you know, all that information, like in case there's an emergency, like what's going to happen, right? Like, does my son know what to do? Does he know who to call? You know, and there's an address book too. So like I want, you know, like usually it's one parent that doesn't have that information, right? So, or you're scrambling to get it. But I think also the kid needs to know that information. Like they need to know this, and, you know, the blood type. So there's just like it's a really like an all-in-one, all-encompassing book where it's like a tool, like a utility tool, like that gives you needed information, but also that emotional component to like stay connected. And
I love it. Yeah, it's a comprehensive toolkit to express emotions, to also start your kid on journaling activities and reflecting on the emotions and feelings, and not just, run around. But it also gives a kid a connection that even though mom and dad are not together, we are still a family. And I am traveling between two homes, but you have that sense of community. So the kid didn't lose the parents; they're still in his life, they're present, and the fact that you can communicate and record how each day is going, and then in the back you have all of the pertinent information. I think it's incredible because we do scramble, and we do like, oh, the dentist appointment. I know, like I take my kids twice a year to the dentist and I make the appointments, but it's separate. And keeping all the doctors in place, so having it all together, I think is incredible. I love it. Maybe in the future you can create an app about it.
yeah, we'll see.
App is more for adults. I love that you have involvement of the kids, so he is connected and he is invested. And when they're little, they're not going to tell you much, but then if you have those faces, he can just circle and you know how he's feeling, and then you can ask further questions about the day. Because oftentimes, even when they're older, like you ask them, how are you doing? Oh, it was fine. Like they don't really elaborate until you probe more to understand, okay, what's happening.
Yes, I want him to get into the habit and practice of, like if you don't have to say anything, you could write it, right? Like there's multiple ways to get your feelings out, but I just want him to have a place to do it and feel comfortable and know that his dad and I are listening, and we care, we're always here for him.
Yes, I love it. I think it's a great idea, and I want to try it out. Even though my kids are in one house all the time.
I still feel like it could be used for, the situation. There's like little components in here that are not applicable, but I was like, oh, maybe I'll make one for truly like single parents, because, I had thought about it and I didn't want to exclude them, but this book was made for, obviously, for two households. So
no, I do see usability for single parents as well, who kind of kids stay in one place, because you still reflect on the day, you still do those things. And I love the affirmations part. I think it's incredible, and kind of reinforcing the idea. You have one affirmation per month, so it's gonna get really instilled into them. Start early.
Every morning that I have him before he leaves for school, I'm like, what are your affirmations today? And he bam, bam, bam. It makes me so happy.
Love it. What do you think is the most important trait to instill in a child?
Gosh, it's the last affirmation in the book. I believe in myself, because nobody's going to do it for you, right? Like we can only help someone so much, but if you don't believe in yourself, it's right, you're like halfway out already, you're halfway out the door. So that's why I left it as the last one, and I intentionally put it there.
I love it. That's my belief as well, is to inspire women to believe in themselves again after breakup, after separation, because oftentimes we trust others to determine how we're supposed to be, what are we supposed to feel, but actually believing in ourselves no matter what, and keep going
no matter what.
It's the message. What do you want to be remembered by?
I having, this is a pretty new venture for me. I feel like there's a few families that have been using it, and someone left me the nicest note about how her ex-husband is using it now, and it's helping his relationship with his son. And I was like, like someone I don't know,
Right.
like it's affecting their relationship. And for this little boy to have this tool that impacts their lifelong relation, that like it brought them together. It's like, wow, like even if it's one person, like I'm not hugely, like I'm still trying to grow, like not a ton of people have this, but I did it for this kid, right? Like this one kid that, if it makes him closer with his dad, if that makes that relationship stronger, then I'm like, I did something good. I left the world a better place, right?
Yeah. And I love it, that you believed in yourself and you started with this little daily calendar that you saw in a dollar store and it led you to creating something amazing.
Yeah, it's funny, right? How the universe works sometimes.
Yeah, yeah. Is there anything that you want to tell us that I didn't ask you yet?
I feel like some people may wonder if this is for them, if they're in a highly contentious relationship. And what I would say to them is like, because actually, or conversely, someone was like, oh, I have a really good co-parenting relationship, so I don't really need this. So, right. So there's those two extremes of like, I don't know if I need this, or I can't use this because my relationship is great or my relationship is so bad. To those folks that have a great co-parenting relationship, I was like, that's great. I'm so happy for you. But, to still have, this still gives your child an outlet to express themselves, to still have a sense of like, hey, like when I look through here and when I think one day my kid's going to see that his mom and dad wrote every single day a like something for his life, I was like, that's love right there. So, and the affirmations, I was like, you can't put a price on building up your child's like resilience and self-worth, right? So that's the idea of this, like to build a child up no matter how they're supported. Like there's still more you can do.
Yes.
And for parents that are at high conflict, someone told me, they were like, I can't use this because anything that I write in there would be used against me. Like what I write, like what I do with my kids, like, and I was like, I totally support that. Like, don't use it if it could be used against, like, I feel like a lot of parents like are in court, right? It's like a contentious thing. So I don't think it's impossible. I think there are other journal prompts that you could answer to still connect with your child. Like, what do you want to be in the future? Like there's that are totally unrelated to like what happened during their day, but it's just like getting to know your child, staying connected with your child, right? Like, so that's what I suggest. Again, it's not for everyone. It's a very different approach to have a family journal after you've parted ways, right? Like it's like the concept of that is like, what? Why would I do that? But I think I totally have my child's best interest at heart. Like I will do anything, even if it's uncomfortable with my ex, right? I will do it. So that's me. So I would just, reach out and, ask, and I'm always here to answer any questions about this.
Please share. And we have a special announcement for listeners of this podcast. We have a special promo that you can get the Home Sweet Home Journal, and I'm going to let Fiona share.
Yes. I really think this is a tool that can help children. And so for all your listeners, I'd love to offer 25% off the book. My website is homesweethomejournal.com. And that coupon code will be, so single parent success stories. So SPSSVIP. That'll be the coupon code.
Thank you. This is incredible. Thank you for this generous offer. If people would like to find you, so they go to the website, any other social media links you want to share?
Yeah, just Instagram. It's also Home Sweet Homes Journal. That's kind of my handle. I haven't embraced TikTok yet, but just primarily Instagram.
Thank you. Thank you for coming on and sharing your wisdom, your knowledge. And I love the book you have created. I think it is incredible connecting your child. And even though the parents are not together anymore, the child still doesn't feel this missing piece. He still feels connected. He still has a home with that book that travels between two homes, but inside he feels deep love and connection to both of you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Irina. This is a pleasure.
Thank you.